It's Nobel Peace Prize Day, and we have a winner.
The Nobel Peace Prize for 2025 goes to a brave and committed champion of peace.
Champion of peace? So the guy who just ended 8 wars, right?
The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2025 to Maria Corina Machado.
Come again? Maria doesn't sound like Donald. Even Maria was like, I don't want it.
The person who actually got the Nobel Prize called me and said that I'm accepting this in honor of you because you really deserved it. A very nice thing to do. I didn't say then give it to me though.
Maria's fighting for democracy in Venezuela. Well, you go, girl. So is Trump. That's why we're blowing up Coke boats and just slapped a $50 million bounty on Maduro's head. Trump just brought peace to the Middle East, so it's obvious the Nobel Committee has the Norwegian strain of TDS. Reporters asked the chair of the Nobel, why the snub?
This committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all laureates, and that room is filled with both courage and integrity.
It's not called the Nobel Courage Prize, and if it was, Trump's got it. He got shot in the head, popped up, and said, fight, fight, fight. In 2 terms, Trump hasn't started a single war, and has ended 8. And integrity? They gave the Nobel to Yasser Arafat, a terrorist. Al Gore got the Nobel for global warming. It doesn't take courage to recycle. After bombs away Barry? Even Morning Joe said Barack got a DEI prize.
They also gave it to Barack Obama before he had actually done anything.
All right, still ahead on Morning Joe. We're going to get
Not
Steve
that Donald
over.
Trump noticed
Now
that.
stop.
Trump noticed the Nobels rigged like an election. Barack was nominated just 11 days after he was sworn in, and no one knows who nominated him. It's still a mystery. They gave it to him for his, quote, vision of a world free from nuclear weapons. Well, he gave the Iranians cash to build nuclear weapons, and then Trump obliterated them. Trump's done a lot more to get rid of nuclear weapons than Barry has. There are 5 members of the Nobel Committee, and only one of them is conservative. The chair worked for Doctors Without Borders, a Soros-funded consortium that pushes open borders. Doctors Without Borders actually won the Nobel in '99. And then Obama bombed one of their hospitals in Afghanistan, making Barack the first ever Nobel Peace Prize winner to bomb another winner. None of this is about peace. It's just about giving a prize to liberals. It's kind of like the Academy Awards when you think about it. You know who else admitted the Nobel's rigged?
That old college hoodie you wear every winter?
He said it's like the Academy Awards, man. That's funny. But you know, I think it's hilarious that he didn't get it because he was trying to get it so badly, and the Lord didn't give it to him. This is like one of those celebrity roast situations. The Lord's making fun of him, man. He saw you ain't looking too good. Okay, just not. Birth and reign of the Prince of Peace. Let's read about this. Isaiah 9:1. Nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation, when at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea beyond Jordan, in Galilee of the nations. Let's look this up. First, I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders. I'm Rabbi Knapp, coming out with a lesson, Lord's will set edifying to the Lord's elect. Let's look this up. What's this talking about? But I just found that funny, man. You know, all of this attempt to try to grab something he wanted it so badly, and the Lord that just didn't gave it to some chick in Venezuela. You know, showing you the Lord, he got a sense of humor, man. He's probably laughing in the heavens, man. Like he really thought he was gonna get it. Everyone thought he was gonna get it. I mean, if you didn't think he was gonna get it, I'm surprised. It seems like they set him up for it all. It looked like that's where it was going to go. People were partitioning to do it. Who was it? India Prime Minister was saying to give him the Nobel Peace Prize. Other people started to say it, and it didn't happen. Isaiah 91 states that the past gloom over the land of Zebulun and Naphtali would be replaced by future glory for Galilee of the nations located by the sea and beyond the Jordan. This prophecy describes a shift from past hardship to a coming time of peace and exaltation for the region, foreshadowing the arrival of a great light and a new king who would bring everlasting joy. End of gloom, the verse promises an end to the darkness and despair that had afflicted the land of Zebulun and Naphtali. Past hardship in earlier times, these northern regions of Israel had been humbled and contempted, possibly referring to the Assyrian requests. Future glory, a future time will bring glory to Galilee, a mixed population region known as the Galilee of the Gentiles. Geographical context of prophecy specifically mentions the way of the sea beyond the Jordan and Galilee of the nations, pinpointing the area where this future glory will be seen. Let me get this in chat. You know, going into the Prince of Peace, man, it was always prophesied that the Lord was going to bring forth this peace. That's why when you read the book of Acts, you know, they thought it was that time. You know, we're not going to be fooled by Esau and his stupid ass accolades, man. It's the book of Acts, chapter 1. Because it really belongs to the Lord if you understand prophecy. Acts chapter 1, the former treaties have I made, O Theophilus, of all that Yahushua began both to do and teach until the day in which he was taken up, after that he, through the Holy Spirit, had given commandments unto the apostles whom he had chosen, to whom also he showed himself alive. So he showed himself alive to the apostles after his passion by many infallible proofs, being seen of them 40 days and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of God. And being assembled together with them, commanded them that they should not depart from Jerusalem, but wait for the promise of the Father, which saith he, ye have heard of me. For John truly baptized with water, but ye shall be baptized with the Holy Spirit not many days hence. When they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? Okay, going back to that future glory. All right. They thought it was the time. And he's trying to bring forth a time that's not matching up with prophecy, that the so-called white man is going to bring peace on the earth. He's not in the Bible. He claims to be a Bible-believing Christian. Then why are you falling for the okie doke every single time? See, Esau trusts in Esau. I respect Esau for that, though. At least he's not like you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans thinking somebody from a different nation is going to come and save you. At least they will get behind somebody that's offering some false sense of hope and peace in the world. You know, the heathen will the heathen are like that, man. We're not supposed to be thinking like that. We gotta come up out of this wicked mindset this devil got us in. Let me read Isaiah 9, verse 1, meaning. I need to get this. Because I don't think it really. Isaiah 9:1 continues from the previous chapter, Isaiah 8, where Israel was under distress, darkness, and judgment because of their sins. Yet here Isaiah begins to speak of hope and restoration, especially for the regions that were first afflicted by the Assyrian invasions. Nevertheless, as a matter of fact, let me look at a map. map of the 12 tribes of Israel's inheritance. Shows the land of Canaan divided among them with the 2.5. Yeah. So when you look at this, where the hell's the map, man? Just give me the map. Naphtali, Zebulon. So the Syrian army so that's deep in the south. I mean, in the northern kingdom. It's crazy how Simeon's part of the northern kingdom when it's literally inside of Judah. But they consider they must have they went out. Simeon's bugged out, man. Literally inside of Judah, and you're part of the northern kingdom. Isaiah 9:1, it says, "Nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation." Though Israel, the northern kingdom, was in darkness and sorrow under affliction, the prophet says it won't remain that way. Dimness or darkness represents distress, confusion, and captivity, which makes sense when you know the history of the northern kingdom. Not only were they in darkness because they were worshiping idols, but, that's the main point. You know, they weren't following Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. They created their own temples, and then the Lord actually sent the Assyrians to come destroy them and bring them in captivity and brought them to a far land. Brought them by the Mesopotamia. Vexation means trouble or anguish caused by their enemies and by their own disobedience. Precepts, Isaiah 8:22, and they shall look unto the earth and behold trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish. Let me grab that. Isaiah 8:22. I don't want to make it too long, but I got to study a little bit, because if you don't a believing remnant, you don't go over these things, man, you'll lose it. Isaiah 8. And I'll start at 21. And they shall pass through it hardly bestead and hungry. And it shall come to pass that when they shall be hungry, they shall fret themselves and curse their king and their God and look upward. And they shall look unto the earth and behold trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven to darkness. Psalms 30:5, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. That's right, we got to wait for Yahweh Shai. We're in the night right now, as a matter of fact, and we're waiting for the day star or the morning star to come, which is Yahweh Shai. Right now, this is the time of darkness. This is Esau's time. This is his age. Okay, when at the first, he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali. These were northern tribes of Israel located in the region later known as Galilee. They were among the first territories attacked by the Assyrians, 2 Kings 15:29. Let me go there. I thought he would go to 2 Kings 17, but what's it? 2 Kings 15. And Pekah over Israel. In the 52nd year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekah, the son of Remaliah, began to reign over Israel and Samaria, and reigned 20 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria. Let me look this dude up. And took Ijon and Abel Beth Makkah and Janoah and Kadesh and Hazor and Gilead and Galilee, all the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria. And Hoshea, the son of Elah, made a conspiracy against Pekah, the son of Remaliah, and smote him, and slew him, and reigned in his stead in the 20th year of Jotham, the son of Uzziah. And the rest of the acts of Pekah, and all that he did, behold, they are written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Israel. see this king, man. Tiglath-Pileser can refer to two major kings of Assyria. Tiglath-Pileser reigned from 115 to 1076 BC, and more prominently, Tiglath-Pileser III reigned from 745 to 727 BC. Both were significant figures, with the later often credited with founding the Neo-Assyrian Empire through military reforms, territorial expansion, and administrative centralization. Tiglath-Pileser III, I want to read a little bit about him. Rise to power, he seized the throne in 745 BC, and I believe the Northern Kingdom fell somewhere in like 722, something like that, during rebellion against the king Ashur-Narari V, taking the name Tiglath-Pileser to legitimize his rule, reform centralized power by appointing governors and creating a professional standing army that was able to campaign year-round. He incorporated conquered peoples into the military and added cavalry, which was crucial for his campaigns. Expansion. His reign marked the beginning of Assyria's final and greatest expansion. Establishing the Neo-Assyrian Empire, he successfully campaigned against regional threats like Urartu and expanded Assyrian control into the southern Levant and Babylonia. Okay. But what about 2 Kings 17? Because it says Shalmaneser went up in there. 2 Kings 17. And that's when it fell. I guess you got to go up more. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hosea the son of Elah to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years, and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hosea became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hosea, for he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. So let me look at this real quick. Northern Kingdom's kings in succession. Jeroboam I was the first king, succeeded by his son Nadab, who was then overthrown by Baasha. Baasha's line ended with his son Elah being killed by his charioteer Zimri, who was quickly overthrown by the army commander Omri. The dynasty of Omri included Ahab, Ahaziah, and Jehoram. Jehu then overthrew Jehoram, starting his own dynasty that included his son Jehoahaz and Jehoash and grandson Jeroboam II. Long story short, let me keep going. I love looking into these kings. I'll probably be stuck looking into that for a while. When at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali. Lightly afflicted means they suffered early attacks, a forewarning before the greater judgment. Right. Okay, so yeah, so that's what that's talking about. So in 2 Kings 15, before we led up to Shalmaneser, there was already attacks coming there. They were already fighting. Okay, and afterward did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea beyond Jordan and Galilee of the nations. By the way of the sea refers to the main trade route via Maris, passing through Galilee, a region exposed to foreign invasion and influence. Galilee of the nations means that the area was heavily mixed with Gentiles, non-Israelites, due to conquest and settlement. The greater affliction points to the later Assyrian captivity that carried Israel away. Yet this same region, Galilee, would later be honored by the coming of the Messiah, Yahushua, who began his ministry there. This turns the grievous affliction into future glory and light. When you read Acts, the first chapter, this is way after the Lord The Lord had died, and then you get the book of Acts. But he visited that land when he was alive. Okay. Matthew 4, verse 13 through 16. And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is upon the sea coast and the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, which we're reading. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. So it's a foreshadowing of what Isaiah was talking about, going in back to this Prince of Peace. Okay, so Israel always knew this, is what I'm trying to get at without kind of going all around the place, but kind of threw me off with some of the history, because I'm thinking, why is it starting in 2 Kings, the 15th chapter, when you read 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, it tells you about the history of Israel falling. But when you go back a few chapters, they were already starting to have beef with them. It's the Assyrian army, they were already agreeing with them on some things, negotiating with them, and it was talking about how one of the kings, Pekah, something like that, was going into war with them in 2 Kings, the 15th chapter. Okay, Isaiah 9 and 3, thou hast multiplied the nation and not increased the joy. They joy before thee according to the joy in harvest. So like I skipped Isaiah 9 and 2. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them have the light shine. Next verse. Okay, the people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them have the light shine. This verse continues the prophecy, a hope that began in verse 1. It points to the spiritual awakening and deliverance that will come to the same northern region of Galilee, the first to fall under darkness, but also the first to receive the light of the Messiah. And that's why the Lord literally visit those lands. When you look at the map, you got Zebulun and Naphtali, you got Asher too. Okay, but if you go through Naphtali, then you go through Zebulun, and you're right there. Okay. It says darkness represents ignorance, sin, and oppression, both from Assyrian captivity and from spiritual blindness. Walked mean they lived or conducted their lives in that condition continually. These are the Israelites dwelling under the shadow of sin and foreign rule, the shadow of death. Especially, during that time, it would be the northern kingdom was under Assyrian captivity. But when Yahushua came over there, the Assyrians were been done away with. Okay, so that would be the Romans when the Lord was on the scene. Showing you, hence, this is a shadow of death again. Under the same Edomite rule, precepts, Isaiah 60 verse 2, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people, but the Lord shall arise upon thee. And we've seen that in this time, that the majority of people are in great darkness, and the light has shined upon the men, going from the apostles and elders on down to whoever the Lord's sharing his light with. Proverbs 4 verse 19, the way of the wicked is as darkness. They know not at what they stumble. Okay, because everything's backwards here, man. So they call evil good and good evil. They stumble in at things that, if they had the proper understanding, they would know that that's the stumbling block. But the Lord got it where Going to Isaiah the 6th chapter, they're supposed to be like that. They're supposed to stumble over this. Or Isaiah 28, precept upon precept. Ephesians 5 and 8, for ye were sometimes darkness, but now are ye light in the Lord. Walk as children of light. And that's talking about Israelites. You know, because this light's for you. Have seen a great light. This is prophetic of Yahweh Shai, the light of the world. John 8 and 12. His teaching, miracles, and example revealed the truth to a people long lost in confusion and idolatry. Spiritually, this light represents wisdom, understanding, and salvation. John 1, 4 through 5. In him was life, and the life was the light of men, and the light shineth in darkness. Matthew 4, verse 14, keeps reading that same thing. 2 Corinthians 4 and 6, for God hath shined in our hearts to get the light of the knowledge of the glory of God. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death refers to Israel living in bondage, fear, and moral decay, surrounded by Gentile nations. Shadow of death symbolizes extreme danger or hopelessness, a poetic image of the people's condition before deliverance. Just like here, it's extreme dangerous. It's more dangerous for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans than it is for these other nations. Your majority locked up. You're the majority getting killed, you know, whether it be from gang banging or other environmental issues or just the way you eat because you break the laws and the Lord's just plaguing your ass. Precepts, Psalm 107 and 10, such as sit in darkness and shadow of death, being bound in affliction and iron. Upon them have the light shined. The light didn't come to all nations first. It shined upon Israel, particularly those in the northern region. Well, the Lord, before he came to the northern region, he went to a couple of places, especially when he was teaching at 12 years old, man. So I don't really agree with that statement there. This represents the restoration of the covenant people through the world made flesh. The light shined, meaning it penetrated their darkness. The truth reached those who had long been forgotten. Isaiah 93, thou hast multiplied the nation and not increased the joy. They joy before thee according to the joy in harvest, and as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. What's that talking about? Next verse. Isaiah 9 and 2 reveals that those living in spiritual darkness, Israel in captivity and sin, would one day witness a great light, the coming of the Messiah. And this is the role that Duck's trying to play right now. In some weird ritualistic way. And even with all the power he got, he still can't do it because the Lord, he's making him look so silly and foolish, man. And not only that, he gave it to a woman. You know? And he wanted it that bad. He's doing all these great things to save the world. And he ain't even being respected because his time is over, man. It's over. It's over. The whole air shot in the air thing, all of this shit, man. Nobody cares about him. This prophecy was fulfilled when Hamashiach began his ministry in Galilee, preaching repentance in the kingdom of heaven. The verse is both historical, relating to the afflicted tribes of Israel, and spiritual, pointing to redemption and truth. Isaiah 9 and 3, thou hast multiplied the nation and not increased the joy. They joy before thee according to the joy in harvest, and as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. This verse follows the prophecy of the great light. In verses 1 and 2, it describes the results of that light, the deliverance and restoration of Israel, yet with some textual complexity. There's small difference between the Masoretic Hebrew text and some ancient versions like the Septuagint regarding the phrase not increase the joy. In Hebrew, the context suggests joy was increased, not diminished. So it's often understood as thou hast multiplied the nation and increased their joy. Thou hast multiplied the nation refers to the restoration and growth of Israel after a time of affliction and scattering. Spiritually, it points to the awakening of Israel through the word, the light spreading to all the tribes. This also foreshadows the gathering of Israel and Judah under the Messiah. Precepts, Hosea 1 and 10, Isaiah 49 and 19, and Zechariah 10, 8 through 10. The Lord says, I will hiss for them and gather them, for I have redeemed them, and they shall increase as they have increased. And not increase the joy and increase the joy. This phrase can be read either as a statement or contrast or fulfillment. If read not increased, it recalls their past infliction through multiplied. Their joy was missing during captivity. It read increase the joy. It reflects rejoicing at deliverance through the Messiah. The other way, it points to the transformation from sorrow to joy when salvation arrives. The joy before thee according to the joy in harvest. The harvest is symbolic of reward and restoration after long labor or suffering. Spiritually, it points to the ingathering of souls, Israel's awakening and repentance. This mirrors the joy of farmers rejoicing over a plentiful harvest. And as men rejoice when they divide the spoil, this imagery recalls victory in battle, warriors celebrating the spoils taken from enemies. Symbolically, it points to the triumph of righteousness over oppression, Israel's victory through the Lord's deliverance. Spiritually, it represents the rewards of overcoming sin and captivity. Isaiah 9 and 4, for thou hast broken the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian. So this is definitely talking about a restoration after the fall of Israel, that the Lord's going to restore them. And it starts with the word. You know, I forgot what precept I was looking for, a precept, and it was talking about how the word, it said something about, I think Luke 12 and 49, if I kindle a fire, something about, let me grab it. If it's already kindled or something like that. And it was basically saying, when you look it up, when I looked it up in chat, it was saying how, Luke 12 verse 49, I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? Now I was comparing this to the thermonuclear missiles that are coming. You know, the things are already going to be happening when this place gets destroyed. But when you look it up through chat, it was saying how his word was going out. And that's the fire kindling. And that's spiritually, that's exactly what it is, because his word went out first. And then that's how he does it. He sends his prophets out, the word spreads, and then the judgment. And just like that, fire is going to spread. Same thing. For thou hast broken the yoke of his burden, and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian. For every battle of the warriors with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. So he was even prophesying about the downfall of Babylon here. Because this didn't happen to the Assyrians. Okay? They didn't get taken down with burning of fuel of fire. You know, this is prophetic. For unto us a child is born. Who's us? The Israelites. This child that's born is Yahushua. Unto us a son is given. Okay, a son, talking about Yahushua, the only begotten son of Yahweh. And the government shall be upon his shoulder. Okay, he's going to be the reason why when he's going to bring us back, like it says in Matthew 1 verse 21. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Okay, not duck. Okay, this is what Israel's talking about, man. And he did come already. The son was already born. So this prophecy was somewhat fulfilled. Well, it was fulfilled. But he's going to fully be fulfilled. It was partly filled. He fulfilled it. I don't even know how to explain it, but he fulfilled this precept, but at the same time, you're not in peace right now. Okay? And he had to die for his sins and as well as ours. You know, if you could receive it. You know, that's a hard thing to digest if you don't know the truth, man. What you mean he got to die for his sins? You got to learn about the priesthood. You got to learn about how, you know, everything's a manifestation of what happens in heaven. And you got to know, you got to learn all these precepts, man, to get the understanding. Because that's hard to digest. That would be meat to some people, that Yahweh Shah died for his sins and as well as the nations. You know, fulfilling his role as high priest. Isaiah 9 verse 7. Of the increase of his government in peace, there shall be no end. Okay, there shall be no end to peace, man, when the Lord returns this time. Upon the throne of David, Donald Duck is not sitting upon the throne of David. Okay, so he's not the one that's supposed to be fulfilled, that every Bible Belt believing Edomite's supposed to gather around and pray and anoint him with oil from Israel. None of that's going to work, man. Even if you put a small hat and go to the Wailing Wall, you ain't the Messiah, man. And you made yourself look foolish in front of the whole world, and I'm glad I lived to see the day. How the Lord is making a shameful spewing on your glory. And upon his kingdom to order it, okay? This place is not no order, man. He ain't bringing no, there's a lot of disorder. And he's about to bring more disorder, more confusion, and to establish it with judgment and with the justice from henceforth, even forever, okay? He don't establish nothing with judgment and justice. Look what he's doing with that, what's that woman's name? I forgot her name, man. How the hell you get into her mortgage records, man? That has nothing to do with you. Going all the way into her mortgage records to find out, to try to find some dirt on somebody so you can just stir something up, man. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. Okay, let's look this up. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. The zeal of the Lord is the concluding phrase in Isaiah 9:7 in the Old Testament of the Bible, a prophecy that speaks of the coming of the Messiah, whose government and peace will have no end, and who will reign with justice and righteousness. The zeal of the Lord of hosts refers to God's passionate and fervent commitment to establishing his righteous kingdom and fulfilling his promises. So he's going to do that. Zeal, fervent, and passion. Zeal in the context describes God's burning passion, fervor, and emotion for the accomplishment of his will and the establishment of his kingdom. So this ultimately, the Lord, of course, he wants his kingdom to be established, and it's going to be established. You know? Long story short, Duck's not here to bring forth peace. And that's why he didn't get he's not going to get it. He didn't get it. So,
hey, if you conceal carry and you want to do so, come
on.
A prize to liberals. You know who else admitted the Nobel's rigged? Putin.
He's really doing a lot to resolve complex crises that last for years, even decades. The committee has awarded the Nobel Peace Prize to people who have done nothing for peace. A person comes, good or bad, and in a month, in 2 months, boom, he gets it. For what?
Here's who else thinks Trump should have gotten it. 70,000 monks?
Today, 70,000 Cambodian Buddhist monks are wholeheartedly supportive of our Cambodian brothers.
Yeah, the Lord's terrible, man. The Lord's terrible. Why? Because Cambodia was fighting with, who were they fighting with a couple months ago? And he did stop that war, though. I forgot. I think Cambodia was fighting with the Thailand or something like that over a border dispute.
Prime Minister Hun Manet to nominate you for the Nobel Peace Prize. Please accept, Mr. President.
Crooked even thinks he can.
Oh, man. Moab kind of sounds Jamaican right there, man.
And it deserves it.
It's a really significant first step, and I really commend President Trump and his administration.
What the fuck are you commending him for? That's weird, man.
The leaders of Israel, Pakistan, Cambodia, Russia, and dozens of other dignitaries are in agreement here. Even leaders who are getting smoked by Donald Trump's trade deals are admitting the man has skills.
What's he like to deal with?
He's very sharp. He's very curious about people's opinions on a wide range of issues, and so he will solicit my views, other people's views on topics of the day, particularly international. He's decisive, and he has an ability to change the dynamic very quickly.
The president has skin in the game. 200 American soldiers are going to Israel to monitor the ceasefire.
That's right.
This is personally guaranteed.
200 American troops deployed to Israel, man. Yeah, the Lord's talking, man. He is talking. Joel 2:20. But I will remove far from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things. Okay, which is talking about Saudi Arabia, okay, or in that area, okay. Now they're going specifically to Israel, but you got to start somewhere to be in the region when shit hits the fan. And if this is just the beginning, then this is the beginning of prophecy being fulfilled. You know, you got to say, I don't care if they sent one military guy over there, man. That's prophecy being fulfilled. Jeremiah 49 and verse 20. Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, that have taken against Edom, that he have taken against Edom, and his purposes, that he have purpose against the inhabitants of Teman, which are also Edomites. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. So he's been drawing them out. Okay, now they're going to monitor the peace deal over there. Hey, this is great, man. Who knows what can happen? You're already over there, so anything can happen now. But the Lord might have did it he's doing it in a way that seems like okay for everybody. You know? So, you know, nobody wants to send troops to certain places. You don't need American troops there. You had no problem bombing them and doing this, that, and the third, but they want to have their presence over there, then, hey, the Lord got them over there. And it's not hard to bring even more people over there.
That Israel will not go back on its word. Thousands of Palestinians, because of Trump, are now free in Gaza. That's what Democrats wanted, right? So where's the squad and all the Arab Spring breakers who took to the streets demanding ceasefire now? I haven't seen a parade. They haven't been banging on their pots and pans. We still haven't seen a single tweet from Rashida Tlaib. And she's Palestinian. When you can't acknowledge when something good happens, we're not going to believe you when you say something's bad. All of these people have lost their credibility. Seems like they were never on the side of the Palestinians. They were on the side of Hamas. Seems like they're mad Hamas was forced to surrender. The White House isn't just stopping in the Middle East. Melania is negotiating hostage releases with Vlad.
Imagine bringing your side project to life. Complete AI.
Is Vlad short for Vladimir Putin?
President Putin and I have had an open channel of communication regarding the welfare of the...
Damn, you can talk to Putin? What? Shit, Kamala Harris couldn't even do that. No wonder why Putin wanted to meet with you and not her.
These children. In fact, 8 children have been rejoined with their families during the past 24 hours.
8 Ukrainian boys and girls are going to be home for Christmas, and we know how much Melania loves Christmas. The Trumps might not be bringing a Nobel home tonight, but they're bringing home hostages and children.
Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with their mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars.
And this just in, we have a Fox News alert. Joe Biden is signaling that he should have gotten the Nobel Peace Prize. Politico is reporting that Biden World says Trump's depraved and that he's getting too much credit for peace in the Middle East. According to sources, Biden says Trump plagiarized his peace plan. That's right. Biden thinks someone else plagiarized him. Sources tell Politico that Biden says he was the one who made the peace deal possible, and Trump took too long to seal the deal. Biden couldn't do it in a year and a half. Trump just did it in 9 months. Was it Biden's idea to put Trump?
I can't believe he was actually the president. Oh, man. You look back, it's like, what the hell? That's just too funny.
Trump Tower in Gaza, too? Speaking of towers, are you ready for this? Not only are we getting new flagpoles, rose gardens, and new ballrooms, we're getting an Arc de Triomphe. Someone spotted a big, beautiful rendering of a triumphal arc sitting on the Resolute desk yesterday.
Oh, man.
It looks similar to the Arc in Paris, commissioned by Napoleon. Trump wants it done by America's 250th birthday, and he wants it right across from the Lincoln Memorial. So they better get started. And maybe we shouldn't deport all these illegals, because that sounds like a lot of work. If no one else will give Trump awards, he'll just have to build them himself. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube.
That's too funny, man. That is way too funny. The peace deal belongs to Yahweh by Shimei Abishai.
Tonight, breaking news, the explosion, the search for the missing right now. The images coming in, the horrific explosion at a manufacturing plant. Multiple workers unaccounted for at this hour. Debris landing in yards throughout the community. The blast rattling homes miles away, and we're on the scene tonight. Also breaking, massive firings now underway. Day 10 of the government shutdown. President Trump tonight making good on his threat to fire federal workers and what we know so far. Tonight, a major storm now set to hit. We're tracking what could become the first nor'easter of the season. Either way, the system's set to hit the Carolinas right up through New York City and Boston. Winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour or more. Lee Goldberg has the forecast. Tonight, the 72-hour window has begun. The world now waiting for the return of the remaining hostages held by Hamas. And tens of thousands of Palestinians now returning to their bombed-out homes in Gaza. U.S. troops have just begun to arrive tonight in Israel to monitor this fragile ceasefire. Tonight, the stock market back here at home plunging nearly 900 points at the close after President Trump's new threat to China tonight, a 100% tariff on Chinese imports, what the president is furious about. Tonight, the new video right here showing former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez. This time, the video showing what appears to happen before that alleged altercation, and you'll see it. The urgent search tonight for an accused killer released from jail, the major oversight allowing him to go free. America strong tonight with tributes pouring in for beloved Sister Jean, passing away at the age of 106, one of college basketball's best-known fans, and what she said about prayer. And tonight, hear the very personal reveal. You know our James Longman for his compassion, his reporting on conflict all over the world. Tonight, what he discovered about his own father and how he hopes to help so many others.
Okay, let's get to meet. Mission deadly explosion at Tennessee explosive manufacturing. Let me look this
Do begin tonight here with the breaking news. There's been a deadly explosion at a manufacturing plant in Tennessee. The urgent search tonight for the missing, many still unaccounted for. The blast erupting at the Accurate Energetic Systems facility about an hour outside Nashville. The company makes explosives for the military, aerospace, demolition. And then a wave of secondary explosions forcing emergency crews to keep their distance. The blast felt as far as 11 miles away. Listen to this. Homes in the community reporting the sound of the explosion scared families with no idea what was happening. Firefighters remain on the scene at this hour, searching for the missing. ABC's Mola Lengi leading us off from the scene in Tennessee.
Tonight, 50 miles southwest of Nashville, a search for at least 19 missing. Multiple people dead after a massive blast at an explosives manufacturing facility.
Can I describe the building? There's nothing to describe. It's gone. It's again, it's the most devastating scene that I've seen in my career.
5891 Highway 230 West had an explosion at Accurate Arms. Everybody is en route.
The explosion reported just before 8 a.m. at the Accurate Energetic Systems plant, where according to the company...
I don't know, man. We in some weird times, man. You got that explosion at the LA refinery plant. That was a big-ass explosion, man. Now this... And I'm telling you, Esau ain't gonna tell you when his ass is getting attacked. He wants you to think, oh, it was just an accident. These are high targeted areas, man. You don't know what the hell they doing in here.
Company's website, they specialize in the development, manufacture, handling, and storage of explosives for military, aerospace, and commercial demolition markets. Aerial video showing one of the 8 buildings on the 1,300-acre site, now a smoking crater. Emergency crews initially unable to get anywhere near the 1,300-acre facility because of multiple secondary explosions. This Ring camera 11 miles away shaking from the explosion.
I thought our house had something blow up outside because the boom was so loud and the entire house shook.
Lauren Rourke.
There's a bigger boom coming too. That little thing can go 11 miles out. Imagine when that scroll hits this place, man.
Took these pictures of debris that landed in her yard, about 3.5 miles away.
I know just about everyone is probably affected right now because everybody knows somebody that works over there.
Humphreys County Sheriff Chris Davis emotional, telling reporters they're still trying to determine the number of fatalities.
So at this time, we have been able to confirm that we do have 19 souls. That we're looking for. So, excuse me, I ask you to keep in mind those families.
Well, David, tonight this investigation is ongoing. Right now, there are ATF and Homeland Security agents on scene collecting information, gathering evidence, trying to figure out exactly what happened here. And they're expected to be there for at least a few more days, David.
Yeah, we're thinking about all those families tonight. Mola Lengi leading us off. Mola, thank you.
If you don't understand the rules of power...
Damn, man, 19.
The air tonight, there are massive firings now underway. Day 10 now of the government shutdown. President Trump making good on his threat to fire federal workers. What we know so far, who's affected? Mary Bruce at the White House.
Day 10 of the government shutdown.
It has begun now. The eyes of the world now waiting to see the remaining hostages freed by Hamas. And tens of thousands of Palestinians just now returning to their bombed-out homes. And there's news tonight. U.S. troops have just begun to arrive in Israel to monitor this ceasefire. Ian Pannell in the region again tonight.
Tonight, the 72-hour countdown underway for the release of all hostages as tens of thousands of Palestinians surge back to what's left of their shattered homes. 250,000 people trekking along the dusty road, according to Gazan officials. Mahmoud al-Koshali says his home is destroyed, telling our team, "I thought about not going back, but I have to. Going back is better than staying here." Overnight, Israeli forces...
Hold on. So whose land is this right here in the Bible that this is talking about? Where's Gaza at? I know Gaza, I believe it's in Manasseh's territory. Where is Gaza in relation to the 12 tribes' inheritance? Gaza's location in relation to the 12 tribes' inheritance is complex, but it was greatly generally included in the land allotted to the tribe of Dan. Let's see what Dan is. Yeah, Gaza's Philistines down here, so I don't know where they're getting that at. With nearby areas, let me see what map they're giving me. English language. Though we cannot know for certain how the division was accomplished, we can explore two tribes to better understand how population and land were or were not ultimately connected and how God's hand is seen in it. So Gaza would belong to Judah, according to this chart, but this older chat says the Philistines.
Is completing their partial withdrawal. The hostages expected to be released anytime now through Monday. At least 20 of the 48 still believed to be alive in exchange for thousands of Palestinian prisoners. President Trump set to visit the region this weekend. In Israel tonight, hostage families gathering.
Once again, hundreds of people have gathered here in Hostage Square to honor the families of the hostages, to observe the start of Shabbat, what they hope is the last time they have to do this before all the hostages are finally home.
Itzik Horn had two sons taken by Hamas. One has returned. Now he waits for Eitan, believed to be one of the 20 living hostages. Echoing so many hostage families, he says, on the one hand, I'm happy. On the other, I'm unsure, because I know who we're dealing with.
David, President Trump just announcing he's going to be traveling here this weekend and also to Egypt with other world leaders. We're also hearing US troops are beginning to arrive to monitor that ceasefire. And as Gazans start to try and rebuild, the hostage families tonight wait, anxious but hopeful. David?
Ian Panel will be joining you right there in the region, anchoring this broadcast Sunday and Monday night. We'll see you then. Thank you for your reporting all week. Meantime, back here in the U.S. tonight, the stock market plunging nearly 900 points at the close after President Trump's new threat to China tonight, a 100% tariff on Chinese imports. What the president is furious about. The Dow closing down 878 points, the Nasdaq down 820, the S&P 500 down 182 points. What this fight is about. And here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, just minutes after the markets close, President Trump reigniting the trade war with China, imposing an additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports on top of the 30% that was already in place.
They hit the world with something that really is not anything that people are going to do, and it was shocking.
Stocks tanking after the president warned this morning a massive increase in tariffs on China was coming, even saying the move could be potentially painful for Americans. By the end of the day, the Dow was down nearly 900 points, and the S&P marked its biggest drop since April. The new tariffs start November 1st. The president blasting China for new restrictions that would limit access to rare earth minerals, a market China dominates. Those minerals critical for making everything from cars to smartphones. The president calling it a sinister and hostile move, saying there is no way that China should be able to hold the world captive. President Trump now considering canceling an upcoming meeting with Chinese President Xi.
That meeting with President Xi was just 2 weeks away, and big question tonight if it will happen, whether a longer-term trade deal can be reached with China, David.
Yeah, we'll see if that meeting happens. Rachel, good to have you here in person. To the other news this Friday night, the Pentagon revealing plans to build a new Qatari Air Force facility in Idaho. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says pilots from Qatar will train to fly F-15 fighter jets at the Mountain Home Air Base. Qatar has played a major role in this Mideast ceasefire talks. It's also home to America's largest military base in the Middle East. Tonight, the new video here showing former NFL quarterback Mark.
Man, that sounds like war, man. Military bases in Qatar. Qatari Air Force facility in Idaho. So you got the Qatari Air Force military, you got troops going to Israel. You got Moab being a washpot. Let me grab that precept. He's being a wash pot, man. 100% tariffs on Chinese goods, man. Shit. I should have ordered some shit on Amazon. Psalm 60, verse 8, Moab is my wash pot. Moab is a so-called Chinese man. A wash pot is someone who's a servant. He cleans things. Okay? You tell Moab to go clean something. That's what he's created to do. He's supposed to be cleaning things. Being a servant, pretty much. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. So there's going to be a transfer of power. Okay? Esau is going down, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Philistia, triumph thou because of me, because the Lord is the one who's in control of who triumphs or wins the battle. Okay, so you heathen, whoever wins the battle, it's up to the Lord. Okay, he's the one who's in control over who wins and who loses. Okay, if he wants to put an end to whatever's going on in Israel, he's going to put an end to it, as we can see. Let me look up a couple more things. Alleged victim claimed they were robbed by OnlyFans model. Can't trust these hoes, man. Letitia, that's her name. New York Attorney General Letitia James indicted. Mock execution Halloween display goes viral for all the wrong reasons. Wow.
Here are 5 reasons why you should be outsourcing your hiring to TCC. Reason number 1,
Federal judge has blocked the Trump administration's deployment of National Guard troops to Chicago for now, as tensions on the streets continue to rise. Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker is out defending protesters.
And there are people running around, and that's mayhem on the ground, and that's going to be the excuse to send troops in, or that's going to be the excuse to do more than they're already doing. All I can say is that I'm proud of the people who are peacefully protesting out there and doing the right thing if they want to.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott insists the troop deployment is necessary to restore law and order.
Now, because we have a president who's finally enforcing the laws of the United States, it's only natural, by extension, that if there's a need for that elite National Guard to provide assistance anywhere in the entire country, that it would be the National Guard called upon.
Meanwhile, ICE is facing a slew of assaults and threats. One agent's spouse got this message, which reads in part, retribution will come your way eventually. And in Houston, a Halloween display appears to show figures of ICE agents hung in a mock execution. Dr. Sapphire.
Oh my God, man. They put caskets on the ground. People are crazy as hell, man. And then they put a Mexican, put a Mexican flag over his head. What the hell are people doing, man?
Hung in a mock execution.
How is that ICE? It don't say ICE. It don't say nothing. Get the hell out of here, man. They can say they were just hanging them up, just people just sitting there. They put masks on their face. Like, come on, man. These people just say whatever the hell they want. You're just supposed to believe it. It don't say ICE got clear ICE on their chest. You know who they are. They don't dress with khakis and red hats, man. That don't look like ICE, man. Bullshit.
Mr. Sapphire, we're talking about not just ICE agents who we know have been under threat, who have faced organized assaults on their facilities and sniper fire in Texas, to riots from Portland to the Chicago area. But when these threats become so personal, what does that mean to the hearts and the minds of these public servants that also have to get out there and do their jobs every day?
Yeah, I think it's being reported right now that the attacks on them are up like 1,000% over the last couple of years. And these are people
people who are going out, these are not the highest paying jobs you can get. These are government servants, and all they are doing is trying to protect our country and keep our community safe. Being an ICE official, that's not anti-immigrant. That is pro-community and pro-American. And, one of the things that I find honestly the most disturbing, first of all, people are continuing to demonize ICE. And I've seen people calling them like Nazis and comparing them to like the Gestapos of Nazism. I mean, we can have conversations about immigration policy without rewriting history entirely. The fact that Nazism was, they hunted.
Shut the hell up. Talk too damn much. Just talk about the damn, what was going on. National Guard members on patrol in Memphis on Friday. Trump may sell student loan debt. What could it mean for borrowers? Oh, shit.
Build a website you love with Wix.
Who is he going to sell your debt to?
The Trump administration is weighing a dramatic shift in how federal student loans are handled. In a move that could impact about 45 million Americans, sources, including Reuters, say the administration is quietly exploring whether to sell off the federal government's massive student loan debt portfolio to private companies. News Nation's Alicia Nieves joins us from New York with the very latest. Alicia, the rain behind you could portend how dreary that could be for some borrowers if that money is shifted. Tell us about it.
Yeah, good morning, Nick.
She looked like Cassie. The fuck? Esau, stop cloning people, man.
This is an idea that has been circling within the administration for several months, according to multiple sources, and it's now gaining traction because those multiple sources say the plan is basically to shift some of the student loan debt, or at least the management of that debt, from the Education Department to the Treasury Department. And this is really a necessary step under the Higher Education Act. And then that would allow this to be sold off, at least in part, of the $1.6 trillion student loan portfolio to private lenders. Now, the move fits with the administration's goal of shrinking the Department of Education, but it also potentially helps the government's balance sheet under the Trump administration, playing well with fiscal hawks who call student loan debt a government liability that needs to be put back on the market.
It's not uncommon to sell debt that you're worried about or debt that you're not worried about. It's nobody should be concerned about this. All debt can be assumed by another party. It would be good to relieve the federal taxpayer of that obligation today. If I'm Grant Cardone and I have $1.2 billion, I'm willing to buy that debt and then leave it for me to go collect it from those people. That might be a good investment for me. But it would also, the beneficiary would be the federal the taxpayers that have funded all this garbage debt.
Garbage debt. You hear that? Your federal student loan is garbage debt. Okay? Your education is garbage. Because you can't write it off. It don't bring any, it doesn't benefit you. Okay? And it's a burden on everyone else. If they're using the money to help you go to school and the money's not being used to help build anything or make anything better, it's garbage debt. So why wouldn't they have you sign a promissory note so they can send your ass to war if you're stupid enough to go into debt over a piece of paper? You deserve to go to war. And that's why y'all signed up for that. That's why I want to watch this.
Yeah, so we understand, according to multiple sources, that the Treasury Department has run multiple models around a scenario of assuming the government loans or student loan debt and then potentially selling it off to lenders, but no formal timeline. Nothing right now is concrete. There are analysts, though, warning, like with the Brookings Institute.
Wouldn't be surprised if they sell it to the military.
That potentially taxpayers could lose out.
Because the scriptures tell you that. The borrower is subject to the lender or servant to the lender. Proverbs 22:7. Proverbs 22 verse 7 meaning. It says, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. This proverb gives a practical and spiritual wisdom about wealth, power, and dependency. It shows how economic relationships create authority. Those who have resources, the rich, dominate those who lack them, the poor. It's both a warning against financial bondage and a reflection of how power works in this world. The rich ruleth over the poor. The rich here refers to those who have abundance, wealth, land, or resources. Ruleth over means to have dominion, power, or control, not necessarily righteous authority, but influence due to possession. So if he gives it to a third party, okay, that debt that you owe, whoever he sells it to, you pretty much, you owe them, man. And it's a pretty big penny. And they're going to want to collect on their debt. They don't care that Duck is not allowing people to go to work and he's firing them and he got AI jobs all over the place. It's all by design. He wants these things to happen so he can get you to move in a direction that he wants you to move. That's him having control over you or influence over you. Okay? This shows a real world truth in society. Wealth grants power. Spiritually, it also warns against trusting riches or allowing the world system to enslave your mind. Okay? And we have to constantly be focused on the Lord, because a lot of us are in debt, even in this truth. You know, we hoping that the Lord gives us the stability, you know, or the wisdom to navigate these tough times, man. However, whatever form it comes in, because in order to pay your rent and pay for, you know, your student loans and eat and, you know, do all your other responsibilities, man, you're gonna need help. But there's gonna come a time we understand from that in order to buy or sell, in order to pay your rent and do all these things, you got to take the chip. So none of this is really, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, okay? Because we understand enduring to the end is our main goal. Ecclesiastes 10 verse 6, folly is set in great dignity. I've seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. And that's Israel walking as servants upon the earth. Okay, it has nothing really to do with your student loans, but the fact that you got to go for the want of all things from your enemy is a sign that you're an Israelite and you're going through the curses. Okay, Israel shouldn't be taking loans. We should be, but with a tail, and they're the head. James 2 and 6, do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seats. Psalms 49:16, be not thou afraid when one is made rich, for when he dieth he shall carry nothing away. And the borrower is servant to the lender. A borrower becomes dependent on the lender. Debt creates obligation. The borrower must labor to repay what was lent. That's why they make you sign a promissory note saying that you promise that you're gonna pay back that loan. That's number one. This is not debt that can you can't claim bankruptcy. Okay, and like he said, it's garbage debt, meaning it's a burden on the people on the federal government. Even though they print money from nothing, it's all made up. It's not backed by gold or anything. This is all backed by the military. It's all trust-based. They can keep printing your dollar, you know, keep deflating the power of your money, you know, in order to try to increase the nation to provide more jobs and things like that. Called quantitative easing, they call it. But it's a burden because he can use that to get y'all to go to war. Because when you can't pay off your debt, you got two choices. Go to jail, where he's going to work you to the bone. He's going to work you hard, man. And I wouldn't be surprised if he sends you to another nation to work this debt off, because it costs more to lock you up here in America when he can just send you to El Salvador somewhere and have you do all types of shit, man. Turn this shit into a sweatshop, okay? Because clearly he's putting 100% tariffs on China, where all your goods come from. So instead of relying on Chinese labor, he can lock your ass up and have you do the same work. He'll have you making stupid Temu goods and shit like that and sell it online, and have everyone buying American-made products by locking you up. And you would love to get out of there. We'll give you plenty of good time. We're going to smoke you, give you plenty of good time. And we're going to make sure we get a lot of labor out of you. He going to call it, he don't want any homelessness. He don't want any of that. He going to clean up the streets. He's going to lock you up. That's why. That's where he's going to get that cheap labor. Okay? People want to pay for, they like the price of their iPhones. Well, that's what's going to happen to you. Okay? And you might be in there indefinitely. Because this is Esau we're talking about. Moab, you thought Moab was bad with his sweatshop? Moab probably, at least, with the pay that they were getting, they could afford to eat with way less money than what what you work for. They can afford to live in an apartment and do all these things. Even though he was paying them dirt cheap, they still was capable enough to sustain their living situation. But over here, you're not gonna be able to do that. You're not gonna be able to pay off your debt. But if he locks you up, you will be. Or if you go to war, you will be. And the borrower is servant to the lender. The Hebrew word for servant, ibed, literally means slave or bondman, showing that debt equals bondage. And you clearly see that it equals bondage when you have to decide how am I going to pay this? Should I eat? Should I work? Should I get a second job? Should I say fuck it? Should I run? Well, you're gonna have to make that decision soon, because he's gonna be forcing you to pay it back. This principle applies not only financially but spiritually. Those who depend on worldly systems become servants to them. And that's why you're going to take the MOTB, because you're really a servant to the system. This is what you trust in. You don't see anything outside of this. That's why if the Lord didn't give you this wisdom, man, you ain't going to have no stability. Your only option is going to take that MOTB. Deuteronomy 28, verse 43, a prophecy against disobedient Israel. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. That's right. That's a curse when you got to lend from your enemy. Of course, he's going to put something that, extreme interest on it. Even a federal government loan is supposed to be the lowest interest, and you still can't pay it back. And that's the lowest interest of a loan you're ever going to get, and you can't even pay that back. It's not like a credit card loan or a house loan or a mortgage, whatever. This is like a low interest rate, 3%, some maybe as high as 5%, which is, compared to all the rest of the loans, the credit cards like 25%, 24, 27, 16 sometimes, 16% on a credit card loan. You don't even hear about things like that. It's very rare you'll come across something like that. It's always like in the low 20s or mid 20s, So a federal loan, which is much less than that, you still can't even pay that off. Romans 13:8, owe no man anything but to love one another. John 8:34, whosoever committed sin is the servant of sin. But Proverbs 22:7 warns that debt and dependence to create bondage. The rich naturally dominate those who rely on them, and anyone who borrows becomes a servant to their creditor. The verse teaches financial discipline, humility, and independence, urging us to live within our means and avoid servitude through debt, both physical and spiritual, which is right. But, for most of us, it's too late. You went to school, whatever, you got the debt. But this is why you need to know what the scriptures say, because there's going to be a time where even if you were debt free, you're going to have to take this MOTB in order to eat, in order to buy or sell. So it don't matter if you're in debt or not, man. You just got to hope that the Lord's dealing with you.
Out here, if this debt is sold below market value, which is the only way a private lender really would be interested in it, Nick.
And Alicia, I made reference to the rain behind you. What could that mean for student loan borrowers? Would that be bad news?
It potentially is as dreary as the rain is right now for student loan borrowers, because it's going to change the collection methods that they're potentially used to, the payment methods they're potentially used to. You're dealing with going from a government lender to a private lender who is likely not going to be as forgiving when it comes to paying back that student loan debt. And it comes at a time.
Who won't be as forgiving for paying back that student loan debt? You know, if you make a miss a payment here, they might call you, hey, you know, you can go into forbearance for a year or something, you know. You know, if you fall on hard times, they normally have like this, some type of protocol that can help you out. But if it goes private, man, some of those benefits, you might lose some of those, and then it fucks your whole credit up. You know, you go on delinquent on a student loan, that could fuck your social security, your credit up, man. So if you already saying you can't afford a house now, if you be found a delinquent on your student loan debt, you can forget about it.
But we have seen the federal government, or at least the Trump administration, get a little more tighter with that, right? Tighter with repayment options, restarting collection, even garnishments on default student loans that were paused during the pandemic. So for
garnishing your wages, man, meaning they just take the money straight out. They don't give a fuck about what bills you got to pay. They take their money off the top. Evil, man. Evil times are coming to this place, man.
borrowers who are concerned about this, you're going to want to pay attention to the restructuring review that's done by the Treasury. It'll be by the end of this year. That'll be out. If in that review it is formally made a decision where you should potentially, have this loan move over to the Treasury, then that's when step one. Step two would then be for Congress to, moreover, sign off on it formally. Nick?
Alicia Nieves in New York City with the latest. Alicia, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching.
So you're gonna be protesting, man, when you're not gonna be able to, meet. Not only will you not be able to pay your bills, but the type of things he's gonna have you do for being a delinquent. So this is why we should repent now. Ask the Lord to give you wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, man, or you're gonna be stuck making the wrong decision in the wrong time. But I'm ending right here. Lord's will, this was edifying. Shalom.